Hi, my name is Emra,
And I'm Nicholas.
and today we will be talking about the Premier League tableau, in which we will start with the objectives. This is an exploratory research, which means we are exploring the data instead of finding problems and causation. Our objectives start with the top scorer, which identifies players that have scored the most amount of goals in each season over the course of 5 seasons. We will also see the top assister, which identifies which player has made the most amount of assists over the one season. And we will want to show teams that perform the best, which will show which team has gotten the highest average ranking for the last 5 seasons. The goals per team will show how many goals each team scored in each season. The most popular team using Tableau to find which team had the highest average attendance. Using Tableau, we will show which players are from their respective teams and the nation that they are from. Soccer is the most popular sport in the world and is the reason why we have chosen it. And we have found it more interesting rather than a bus attendance. It is easier to find data on sporting events. We want to create an interactive visualization that can read or study and understand, since soccer stats are always shown in numbers, which may often confuse or deceive people. We use the references shown in the link, some of which were provided on the Where to Find Open Datasets PDF, which was provided by the instructor, onto Moodle. We made an Excel sheet that covers players and teams over the last 5 seasons. The player sheet has 2,500 rows and 22 columns. The team Excel sheet has also 100 rows, with each season having 20 teams. It is important to note that every season, the Premier League regulates the 3 last ranking teams, and 3 teams get promoted from the lower division into the Premier League. The player sheets include the nation they're from, squad they're in, the amount of goals scored, how many assists they made, and many others. In the Excel team sheet, we included the rank they finished in that respective season, the matches played, how many wins, losses, and draws, the goal difference, and the average attendance. We ourselves added 2 additional columns in which include the stadium name and the respective season. Since we're using a lot of numbers and thus measures as opposed to any dimension, we used bar charts as they are the easiest for people to read and comprehend. We also include geographical map with team logos that represent each squad and tables that show the teams and players. We will of course be designing them appropriately to reflect the data. We will also be using maps to show the attendance and provide a visualization including stadium locations. Here we will start at the data findings. The goals are in order of years 2014 to 2015, onwards to 2018 to 2019. Some players played on more than one team through a single season, which is why there are more than 5 numbers shown. Squad and year are added in the marks to reflect this. The same can be seen for the top assister, yet again showing 2014 onwards. Over the past 5 years, Manchester City have averaged the highest rank amongst the team with all the data we have collected. We determined that the team rank was the best determinant of excellence. Even though Chelsea is 3rd on this list, of the 2015-2016 season, they ranked at 10th, which should be taken into consideration because that it drastically lowers their overall rank.
Yeah, and that's why having previous years would actually add a lot more accuracy to our data sets. Okay, so we've looked at basically just Excel data. Now what can we do with Tableau? How does all that data translate to Tableau? What can we do with it? An example is a goals per team, where we created a bar chart. Now you can create a bar chart with Excel, but it is much easier to do with Tableau. It's important to note that these are ranked by overall goals for the past 5 years. So, for example, Liverpool has scored more goals over the past 5 years than Tottenham, but during the respective year of 2014 and 2015, they've actually scored less goals, which is what it shows, but they're still ranked above. Another example of this would be Bournemouth and Watford, which we've decided to include because over the past 5 years, they've actually scored more goals than Crystal Palace and Stoke City, but they didn't even actually play throughout the year. Now we could have excluded null values, but we decided to keep them in. And you can also interact with the year to see which team scored more goals. We also created a map. So with the map, this only shows 2018 and 2019, which yet again can be interacted with on Tableau. And this would actually update the map with all the teams and their stadium locations. But for 2018-2019, Manchester United is actually leading by quite a bit, which is followed by Arsenal, and then closely followed by West Ham. Now, it is important to note that actually, in the past 5 years, this has basically stayed true. Manchester United has just been leading by quite a bit, which the rankings for the average attendance has not really changed, which is why we kept it in the map, and we've only included 1 year in the presentation. But it can be interacted with, and you can look at the other five years. Now, this is where most of our work went into. We went into creating an interactive dashboard which can be looked at. Now, if we go on to Tableau and look at the dashboard, so we set it up so that you are able to click on a team and select the year, and this will update the player list. Now, let's do one as an example. Let's say if I were to choose Chelsea, now this would update the player list showing the players for Chelsea. Now this is only for the year 2014-2015. If you were to select the next year, this would actually update the list, and this would give you a new list for that year. We also created it so that the map is also interactive. So if you were to click on the example Diego Costa, this would update the map, and it would show that he's from, I believe this is Spain. Yeah, this is from Spain. You can also hover over the little icon there. You can't really see it because my arm is hiding it, but you can see the assists and the goals that the player has gotten. That's about it for the Tableau. This is where most of our work went into. It was just creating this dashboard. Now, if we look at the problems, oops. All right, so we did encounter a lot of problems when creating this. First of all, we looked at it, we wanted to create a big picture, we wanted to do the past 10 years or maybe even more. But the problem was that when we look at 10 years, that means there's at least 500 players per year. That means at least 5,000 player entries. Another problem is that players actually change every year, which causes a lot of problem with the filtering from year to year. Teams also change every year because of the relegation rule. First of all, different years doesn't necessarily mean different sheets. We had them all on different sheets. We had the past 500 players on each sheet for the past 10 years because we wanted to do 10 years at first, but actually Tableau didn't actually let us do that. It kind of started going really slowly, or it actually would just crash with that much data. So we put them all on one sheet, and we decided to do 5 years instead. Creating the parameters for the year was also very difficult. Finding out how we can have it so that it was interactive, like I showed before, so that you can click throughout the years, and that would update the list and the map and everything else. So that's when also the filter and linking everything together comes in. The nations was also a problem because in the data set that we've gotten, the nations didn't actually correspond to a certain country that was on Tableau, so we would have to actually put in all the country ourselves, which took a long amount of time. The stadiums, also Tableau does not know where stadiums are, so we had to put in all the stadium coordinates by ourselves, which is why we included a column on the Excel as well. Recommendations, so if you were to create something else, if we were to put in even more time into it, obviously you could have it so that the dashboard actually changes when the team changes. So that means that when I had it so that you could select Chelsea like I did, for the next year, it would actually update the list because of the relegation of the 3 teams that are added and removed. What else you could do is you could add more years. If obviously your computer can handle it, ours could not, so we didn't. The data set was very convoluted at first. We had to remove a lot of rows. There were things like PX and other columns that we just didn't know what they were. So we removed a lot. More could be added, however. So things like ticket price could be added to the map so that it shows the average attendance and the average ticket price, so that it makes a more kind of interesting touristic sort of, hey, how much would it cost to go there, and would it be packed? Yeah, it probably would. And then there's the player salary, which would take a huge amount of time, because not only do players have different salary over different years, but there would also be at least 2,500 players that you'd have to look at, which is what our data set included. And that's about everything that we've got for you. There you go, that's done.
Thank you.